Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Natira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Prahlad Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki, Jai Radha Madhava ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande. Jnanitmirandasya Giranshana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Garamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakal Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhyevacha Patitanam papanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna. Welcome to our last session, part 6. We made it up to Bhava. So today we have topic of Bhava and Prema, which is the final goal, the last stages. Here again the overview of the 9 stages. And as we mentioned in the beginning, when we practice devotional service, we are called sadhakas, and what we are doing is we practice our sadhana, our spiritual practice, and the sadhya is our goal. And it's important when we practice a spiritual sadhana that we know what is our goal. And it says that the goal of sadhana is actually bhava, and then prema. But so this is what we're going to discuss today. Anyone remembers anything from yesterday? Nishta, Ruchi, and Asakti, no? Someone likes to summarize? Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you reach the platform of Nishta, then spiritual life becomes much more easier. Why is that? Anarthas are a good amount of anarthas are removed, and the influences of Tama and Rajas are not anymore affecting us so much. No, there might be they're still a little bit there, but they're not actually an obstacle for our bhakti. We are fixed enough to just continue on the path. And then we said that Ruchi and Asakti actually are the same. What is the difference between Ruchi and Asakti? Someone remembers?
Sakti is more directed towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead than to the devotional practices.
Yes. Ruchi and Asakti are in a way same, but Asakti is a more mature stage of the taste, which then comes into attraction. And in Ruchi we have a taste in the devotional practice itself, and Asakti we have the attraction on the Lord. The subject matter becomes the Lord himself. Yes. And when this Asakti is there, then it's only a question of time till Bhava arises. And this is what is described here at the beginning of the chapter. When Asakti achieves its utmost maturity, it is called Rati or Bhava. Bhava is the budding stage of the 3 potencies of the Lord Satchit Ananda Swarup Shakti, Sandhini, Samvit, and Ladhini. In other words, at Bhava one is entering onto the Shuddha Sattva's platform, and these potencies are just starting to manifest like the rays of the dawning sun. It is thus the blossoming flower of the desire creeper of bhakti. That's the description of Bhava at the beginning of this chapter. So it's interesting, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava are in a sense all, at the same stage, which are different degrees of maturity. But it's from Bhava where actually love of God is manifesting. And we will just talk about that. And it's from Bhava platform where one comes in touch with the Swarup Shakti of the Lord, or with the spiritual energy. And here is described, one enters into the Shuddha Sattva platform, and it's just like the dawning sun which starts to rise. Or the other example is a blossoming flower that is kind of coming up. And that's why we have the picture of the roses that opens. Right? And so basically in the material world, in the material consciousness, we are in Tamaguna, Rajaguna and Sattva-guna. Right? We are influenced by these three gunas. But on the stage of Bhava, we basically cross over this line and we enter, we're being touched by the Lord Swarup Shakti, by the spiritual energy. And we are not anymore influenced by the three gunas. We are on Shuddha Sattva, and then the other potencies of Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini are manifesting. And of course, we know from the Chaitanya Charitamrita study, these are described. The Lord has, of course, the Lord has unlimited energies, unlimited, but the acharyas, they summarized the Lord's energy into three: Bahiranga Shakti, Tatashya Shakti, and Antaranga Shakti, or the external energy, the marginal energy, and the internal energy. Right? And of course, external is material world, Maya. Tatashya is the living entities, Jiva, and Antashakti is Daivi Shakti, or the inner energy of the Lord. And as we also learn from the Gita, the great souls, the Mahatmas, they are taking shelter of the Daivim Prakritim Ashritaha, and then they are also guided from that energy. And the internal energy has these potencies. Sandhini Shakti is mainly the existence energy, or through which eternal existence is manifested. And Samvit is the knowledge Shakti, through which consciousness and transcendental knowledge is revealed. And Ladini Shakti is the, as we know, the pleasure-giving potency, which gives pleasure to Krishna. And that's basically Srimati Radharani, who is embodying this pleasure-giving Shakti, Ladini Shakti. And if one enters to this platform of Bhava, one gets in touch with these Shaktis. And that's what is being described here. And then it says, as we heard, it does blossoming flower of the desire creeper of bhakti, so it's kind of manifesting. In a way, we can say that at the beginning stage, it's like Bhava, and then the fully blossoming stage is Prema. It's the same flower. Bhava, in a sense, is also already pure love of God, but it's in the beginning stage. Right? It's kind of just starting to blossom. That's Bhava. And then it naturally will manifest into Prema. Another example I once heard is like currency. Here you have the beautiful Swiss money, colorful notes. So 5 Rappen, this is the smallest currency. It's a small coin. And 1,000 Swiss francs. It's both is Swiss money, Franken. In Swiss franc has a thousender shine. So it's quite a difference between 5 Rappen and 1,000 Swiss francs. You can maybe for 5 Rappen you maybe can buy a chewing gum, and with 1,000 you can do a lot. But it's same. It's all of that. It's Lakshmi. So this is another example that how Bhava is just beginning, and then Prema is the full manifestation, or maybe an example from nature. Bhava is like the upcoming sun or sunshine, and Prema is like the full manifestation of the sun, like that. Okay, so that's one aspect which is described. Then it says, it, or Bhava, is thus the blossoming flower of the desire creeper of bhakti. Its outer luster is the quality of Sudarlabha, rarely achieved, and inner luster is moksha lagutakrit, deriding even the conception of liberation. And we looked at this already previously. This is described by Srila Rupa Goswami, that characteristic of pure devotional service are 6. Klesh Agni, that all material suffering will disappear. Shubhadha, all auspiciousness will arrive. And then on the platform of Bhava, the Moksha Lagotakrit, before that, Moksha Lagotakrit and Sudurlabha manifest, but then on the platform of Bhava we have Sandrananda Visheshatma and Shri Krishna Karshini. Right? No, sorry. This comes later. Yeah. Bhava is Moksha Lagotakrit and Sudurlabha, and then on the platform of Prema comes Sandrananda Visheshatma and Shri Krishna Karshini. Meaning that we see it, we see it, the Bhava stage, the first 2 plus Moksha Lagotakrit and Sudurlabha. Meaning that if one at the platform of Bhava, one is not interested in moksha. There's no attraction to moksha, and it's actually very rarely achieved. That someone enters the platform of Bhava, this is really rare. It's a very elevated devotee. And we will come back to this when we look at Prema. In the stage of wakefulness, sleep, and deep sleep, his intelligence comes firmly fixed as the pilgrim on the path, his remembrance of Krishna. So, one is in any condition of life, one is firmly fixed, and the self-conceit ahanta I of the sadhaka seems as if it enters into the siddha deha, the spiritual identity, suitable to his desire to serve the Lord, and his material body remains almost as if he has left it. So there is a full absorption in the true spiritual identity, meaning that one will realize one's Sarup Siddhi, like one's spiritual identity in the spiritual world, one will have full realization. Because in the beginning, even if one is on the path of Raganuga, sadhana bhakti, which is still sadhana, but it's practice, one may has a certain inclination, and under the guidance of the spiritual master might confirm or encourage a certain meditation in a certain direction. But this is just like an idea. But then one starts to meditate and practice in that sense. But the actual realization comes at the platform of Bhava. And and then one will start to completely identify with that spiritual identity, and the external identity or body is not so present or so important anymore. And in this regard it's also said, Bhava is of 2 types, that arising from Raga Bhakti and that arising from Vaidhi Bhakti. Meaning that, as we know, there is 3 kinds of Bhakti. There is Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. In Sadhana Bhakti there is Vaidhi and there is Raganuga. And with both one can attain the level of Bhava. And finally Prema. But if one actually wants to enter Goloka Vrindavan with the sweet Madhurya Rasa, then one has to practice Raganuga Bhakti. Otherwise, one will attain only Vaikuntha. Sometimes devotees in the Gaudiya Math, they approach ISKCON devotees do you know? You will only go to Vaikuntha. You have to come to my guru, and he will teach you how to go to Goloka. Because in ISKCON you only do Vaidhi Bhakti, and you only reach Vaikuntha. Some people claim like that. I mean, and it's important to understand that it's a fact. If we remain just with Vaidhi Bhakti, we might, that's what is described in Shastra. If you practice Vaidhi Bhakti, you can attain the highest perfection, but it will be always mixed with awe and reverence. And in order to attain that sweet, that Madhurya Rasa in which all these opulences disappears and you actually enter the mood of the bridge basis, for that it requires spontaneous devotional service. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give that, and Srila Prabhupada is a bridge basi, and he came to give that as well, also in ISKCON. and there is all facilities for us to practice Raganuga Bhakti and attain the highest perfection, since Prabhupada has given us everything we need to attain that. But yeah, it's described here that there's two kinds of bhava according to which sadhana has been performed. Bhava arising from Raganuga Bhakti being excessive in quality, jati, and quantity, pramana, is very thick or intense. It traits is a total absence of awe and reverence, while the feeling that the Lord is one and equal or a lover level predominates. The second type arising from Vaidhi Bhakti, being somewhat lesser in quality and quantity than the first, is not as thick or intense. It is marked with the affection for the Lord, mixed with knowledge of the Lord's opulence as the Almighty God. That's why it says, outside of Vrindavan, when there is awe and reverence, then love is shrunken. Love is not fully manifested. Like the queens in Dwarka or the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha, they also have love for the Supreme Lord, but their love is somewhat shrunken because there is always this feeling of awe and reverence towards the Lord because he's the Supreme Lord. Whereas in Vrindavan, the Brijbasis, they love Krishna just because Krishna is so wonderful, not because he's the Supreme. And that's why there, love is fully manifested. And it's interesting, sometimes we say, okay, that means Vaikuntha is very opulent, and then Vrindavan is less opulent because it's just a cow herd. No, it's a cow village, people are cow, and it's just a village in the countryside. But actually, Goloka Vrindavan is much, much more opulent than Vaikuntha. But because there is so much sweetness, that sweetness is more prominent. And once I heard an interesting example, that if you take a glass of water and then you put like a lemon juice or so, then you put salt in it and sweet, but if there's more, then it's salty. But if you put more sweet in it, although there is maybe even more salt inside, but more sweet, then it becomes actually very sweet. And in many sweet items, they put a little salt because the salt will enhance the taste, to make the taste more coming out. But the point is, if you compare salt and sweet to Aishwarya and to Madhurya, actually in Vrindavan there is much more opulence than in Vaikuntha, but because there is so much more sweetness, it predominates, and it's just you only perceive the sweetness. But as it's described by the Acharyas, every tree is a wish fulfilling Kalpavriksha tree, and the whole land of Vrindavan is all jewels and touchstones, and so Vrindavan is very opulent, much opulent than Vaikuntha. But yeah, here it's described two kinds of bhava, one arising from raga and one from vaidhi, and the one from raga is more thick or intense because it is full of love and there is no unreverence. That's the point. Then, as the juice of mango, jackfruit, sugarcane, or grapes differ in thickness, so there are different degrees of sweetness of bhava. Thus, devotees are of 5 kinds according to their bhava: Shanta, Dasa, Sakha, Pitris, and Preyasish, or Vatsalya and Madhurya. Right? And it's interesting, the analogy given different kind of juices, and some juices have more fruit or more. It's more thick and dense, and others are a little more liquid. So similarly, as we know, we have all these different rasas, devotees in different moods. But bhava in the Madhurya rasa, or in the conjugal love, is the most intense and the most thick, the most sweet of all rasas. And this is described in here. Then it's described here, the Shruti text define the Lord as the very essence of rasa, rasa swarupa, rasa vaisa, rasam hi eva yam, laptvanandi bhavati. The Lord is rasa itself, and attaining that rasa, the jiva becomes blissful. Though water is present in all streams, rivers and ponds, still the ocean is the great reservoir of all water. So too rasa is present in all the avatars of the Lord, and the source of avatari, but does not reach perfection in any of them. Rather, it attains its absolute climax in Vrajendrananda Krishna, the son of the king of Braj. When Bhava matures and begins to ripen into Prema, then that very Vrajendranandan rasa personified is directly realized by these qualified devotees. So, we're all looking for rasa, that taste which is there in relationships, and Srila Prabhupada explains there is mundane rasa and there is spiritual rasa. The mundane rasa we try to squeeze out of our relationships in this world, and they're always very limited and temporary. But the spiritual rasa we gain in relationship with Krishna is actually the soul is hankering. And here is described that although there's different avatars, the avatari, the source of all avatars, especially in the form of Rajendrananda, is the ultimate form of rasa, or he is the manifestation of that rasa. And if you have a relationship with him, that's the highest and the most beautiful thing we can experience. And if that bhava matures, if that manifests as a full manifest flower, or the sun fully is arisen, then the devotee can directly realize the rasa tasted in relationship to Vrajendrananda. So this is what we have in the bhakti, in the Madhurya Kadambini. You noted I mainly read because I'm lacking any realizations. So that's why we just read from the original text. Any questions so far to what we have read, heard? Yes.
So at the stage of Bhava, the sadhaka is then under the influence of the three spiritual energies.
Mm-hmm.
Does it mean beforehand the devotee is never under this spiritual influence, but always in the gunas?
I guess it's a good question, but I understand there is different degrees. It's not like switch and then you're fully in the gunas, and next moment you're fully under the spiritual influence. So there is a progression, and but according to the description that we find here, it is when bhava arises that when the heart is touched by these energies, and not before. I mean, although we said ruchi and ashakti in a way are also the same platform, but it's not yet fully matured. And if the maturation is bigger, when bhava arises, then one becomes completely free. And even at that stage, some remnants of aparat can remain, as we heard, which is kind of almost inconceivable, because if you're on Shuddha Sattva and you're beyond the gunas, how is there still? But that's as we described yesterday or the day before, that there might be some, like a smell, some remnants are still left, and only through prema and finally through the darshan of the Lord directly, everything is removed. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. if bhava can arise from Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and also from Raganuga bhakti sadhana, is it how it would look like practically? Like one person doesn't like to give up rules and regulations, or is somehow unable to give up rules and regulations, but still progresses on the level of bhava?
I mean, giving up rules and regulation, even someone on the highest platform might still follow the rules and the regulations. Just to give an example, although he doesn't need to, but for giving an example, he might still follow all the rules and regulations. The difference is only that he's self-motivated. He's not dependent on any rules. Because of his love, he naturally wants to do things. But the distinction here is more like the love that he experiences towards the Lord, where with the one on the level of bhava coming from Vaidhi, he still has some own reverence for the Lord, and whereas the bhava arises from Raganuga, there is more this intimate connection to the Lord, where I'm yours and you are mine, and we are on an equal level. Whereas the other one still has some reverence. And maybe the focus is maybe more on Vaikuntha forms, and bhava from Raganuga is maybe more focused on Rajendra, Nanda, Krishna. That's how I understood it. Yeah.
So the relationship is different between the sadhaka and the Lord?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry? Rasa personified. Good question. What does it mean? Well, he's Raso Vaisa, Rasam, or also sometimes called Rasa Raj. Raj meaning king. He's the king of all rasas. And as far as I understand, he is the one who can reciprocate all different rasas with all the living entities. And this is, and especially, there is one person who has rasa relationship with unlimited living entities. I mean, who can do that? No, we have some relationship with some people. It's limited, but he's that personality who has unlimited relationships with unlimited individuals and in unlimited forms of rasas. So, and he enjoys all the different rasas. So in this way, he's Rasa Raj, the king of all rasas. And of course, he's also the origin of them. Yeah, that would be a way I would try to explain that. Yeah. Please. Yeah.
I would turn back to the Vaidhi and Raganuga Bhakti question, because I was also thinking about this, that we actually learned as how to distinguish the two of them, and we distinguished on the basis that Raganuga Bhakti comes from inside, and Vaidhi Bhakti is some mature level, where the outside requirements dominate. And this is interesting, because if it's not, so it in an essence, the Vaidhi Bhakti, as far as we learned, it lacks the deep inner desire. And this is interesting, that how someone can attain, if we understand Vaidhi Bhakti in this way, bhava, which actually requires some real sincere desire.
Yes. So that's a very good question, and I was also a bit puzzled with this, because sometimes we learn. Okay, there's sadhana bhakti, and sadhana bhakti has two divisions. One is Vaidhi and one is Raganuga. And sometimes we have the understanding, first we do Vaidhi and then later we do Raganuga, like as a stage. And yes, that's one way to understand it, that if you start with doing it according to rules and regulation and then you become more spontaneous. But from what I understand here, it seems also that they're not a stage in itself, but there is also two different paths that both lead to bhava. And it means someone might follow Vaidhi Bhakti. And then also, naturally, it also becomes more natural or more with desire and love. But it is still mixed with unreverence, whereas Raganuga Bhakti then is more with that Madhurya Rasa. But yeah, I was also a bit puzzled with that. But it seems that there is like two ways to understand it. Yeah, that's would be my understanding. But yeah, as I said, we are talking about aspects of devotional service, which I also feel a bit shy to sit here and teach, because neither I have any realization, and nor do I have such a deep understanding of the subject matter. I must admit, like I have studied this book several times, and but yeah, that's it. Okay, so this is what we get from the Madhurya Kadambini. So now, interestingly, of course, the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we also find description of Bhava. So I thought we could also, just discuss a few points from this source, since this is just to enhance our standing of this platform. So that's not directly from the book, but it's from Rupa Goswami. So definition of Bhava is given as that part of Bhakti is called Bhava, whose essence is Samvit and Ladini, Shakti, which is one ray of the sun of Prema, which will soon rise in the heart, and which softens the heart with desire to meet, serve and exchange love with the Lord. So similar to what Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur said, that arising, same example is given, sun arising, so Bhava, which then develops into Prema, and again the essence, which is Samvit and Ladini. And then there's a certain desire. The heart becomes soft, there's a desire to serve. This is described here. Giving rise to various tastes. There are three kinds of tastes or devotional desires that blossom when one achieves Bhava. Prati Abhilas, desire to achieve Krishna. Anukulya Abhilas, desire to please Krishna with various services. And Sodara Abhilas, desire to be close at heart with Krishna. So some of the various tastes or emotions that arise on that level. And then further it's described that there's two ways to achieve Bhava. One is by practice and one by mercy. Bhava appears in the very fortunate person in two ways: by absorption in sadhana or by the mercy of Krishna and his devotees. Its appearance by sadhana is normal, and its appearance by mercy is rare. And of course we also understand, as we discussed, in a way it's anyway a combination of both. We endeavor and there is mercy, so it's always a combination of both. And I think Srila Prabhupada explains in his Nectar of Devotion that a PhD you can achieve in two ways. You can actually study and write your paper and then get the PhD because you studied, or the university can also award you an honorary PhD. So, but you're better off by actually studying than it's just sitting there and waiting till someone gives you an honorary title, right? So that's the example that Srila Prabhupada gives in his summary study. Now, how do we understand that someone is on the platform of Bhava? What are the symptoms of the Bhava platform? And this is answered in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in two ways. One is that the Bhava stage is manifested by 8 transcendental symptoms, 8 physical symptoms of softened heart, asta sattvika vikara. No. And we have heard about these ecstatic symptoms, no, right? Becoming stunned, perspiring, standing up of bodily hair, fluttering of the voice, trembling, changing color of the skin, shedding tears, appearing devastated. So these are some of the symptoms that one in Bhava might show. And there is description of devotees who have experienced these emotions. Sometimes in Srila Prabhupada we have seen how when Prabhupada was singing Jaya Radha Madhava. Now usually sadhus, they don't display these emotions because it's something very intimate and private. They try to control it but there were several occasions where Prabhupada was singing Jaya Radha Madhava and got so much absorbed in the meaning of the song and overwhelmed by his love to Krishna that he got kind of, and at some occasion he put down the corals and just walked off, and there was no class on that day. Just overwhelmed by emotions. So these are symptoms of bhava. But can we rely on these symptoms? It's a bit tricky because people can imitate these. You can cry, and you can roll on the ground and shiver. And some, sahachiyas, they do that. Sometimes. Prabhupada tells the story that someone walks into the temple and then cries and rolls on the ground, and then he walks out of the temple and smokes a bindi. So it can be misunderstood. Or there's the other story where there is a babaji or a sadhu is giving katha, and many people in the audience, they're listening with rapt attention as the sadhu speaks some beautiful katha about the qualities of Krishna. And then one person sits there and he cries and he cries and he cries, and the other person after the katha, wow, you were really touched, huh? You shed so many tears. Person, yes, I was so touched. When I looked at the Babaji and I saw his beard, I was reminded of my goat who just died yesterday. So you may see someone manifesting some of these symptoms, but there might be different reasons why they show the symptoms. No, it's not actually a reliable indication for a platform of bhava. But then therefore, Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Prabhupada gave us a Nectar of Devotion, there is a chapter called Character of One in Ecstatic Love, and there Rupa Goswami describes 9 symptoms of one, or characteristics of one actually is in bhava, and it's not so easy to imitate them, because it's aspect of characteristic. And rather than going through the list, we have them here one by one. So Prabhupada explains or summarizes, he is always anxious to utilize his time in devotional service of the Lord. He does not like to be idle. He wants service always, 24 hours a day without deviation. That's the mood. I want service always. Please, please, Radha and Krishna, engage me in your service. And he really means it. Because service is his life, or her life. Just serving the Lord. And doesn't like to waste time. It's interesting. For me, when I came in touch with Krishna consciousness, when I, at some point I decided to do a Bhakti program, I spent 3 months in a temple, going through the Bhakti program, and then I again moved out and spent some time outside before I then fully joined. But what I took with me, not that I attained this level of bhava after that, but what I took with me was this deep realization that I don't want to waste my time. Because I had spent 3 months in a temple with full program every day from 4 o'clock till evening 10 o'clock. And then when I was home, I felt like I want to do something for Krishna. I want to do some spiritual practice. I don't want to just sit idly, And I remember I was living in a VG, like with several people in one house. And then someone, a friend of mine, she just got, a child, and then family members came, and we're sitting there in the living room with a cup of tea and with the child, and we're talking. And I was sitting there, I became nervous, I'm wasting my time here. Anyway, maybe a little bit fanatical, but I felt like, I want to engage I want to be with Krishna, I want to do some service, I want to, but on that level, it's very deep realization that you just don't, you understand how valuable time is, and you just want to always be engaged in Krishna consciousness. There's no desire to do anything else outside of that. Because that's our life. We want to be with Krishna. No need to do something else. So, but again, this is not, we can't imitate so easily, no? Because in our case, yes, one more festival, and some point, okay, now it's good. Now I need a little break. No, what is new on Netflix, or let me do something else. Like we need some, like someone told me that he did a japa retreat, like 64 rounds, chanting 64 rounds. And then in the evening, he walked into like a guest house, and there was a newspaper lying. And he was going there and looking at the newspaper. And then he catched himself. Oh my God, I just chanted 64 rounds, completely absorbed in Krishna. And now my mind wanders to the news, and I want to know what happens in this world. Something is wrong. What is the use of my chanting? But that's our condition, that the mind always is attracted to the material, to the out. No, we are not yet so deeply. So rather than if to focus on spirituality or on Krishna consciousness practice, the mind, if you push the mind too hard, the mind needs a break, and the mind wants to go in the other direction. But here on the platform of Bhava, the mind is conquered. There's just Krishna. And that's why he just want to serve always. So that's the first. Then 2, he's always reserved and preservant. When a person is undisturbed, even in the presence of various causes of disturbance, he is called reserved and preservant. So the example here is given. Parikshit Maharaj, although he was cursed to die within 7 days, he peacefully sat down at the Ganges and, okay, let's listen Bhagavatam. It's not like, panicking, oh my God, I will die. Okay, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, let's listen. So this is also something you can't imitate. Prabhupada says what was the statement? The greatness of a personality will be shown by how much he's able to tolerate in difficult situations. Right? That's the test. Not when you chant japa, but when you confront it with some challenges. How do you react? Are you able to remain calm and reserved, like in a sense of controlled, or do you freak out, become anxious or angry? So that's another symptom which is there. And then he's always detached from all material attraction. The senses are always desiring sense enjoyment, but when a devotee develops transcendental love for Krishna, his senses are no longer attracted by material desire. This state of mind is called detachment. I admit the picture is not so proper because the picture shows how Bharat Maharaj becomes attached to the deer and the text describes about detachment. But it referred because Rupa Goswami quotes the shloka that we already quoted earlier, that Bharat gave up everything. I mean, before this scene, didn't have another picture. Before this scene, he gave up everything, very, like in a very detached way. So detachment is another. Then 4, he does not long for any material respect in return for his activities. He doesn't mind what people think or tell. He's not depending on the opinion of others. He's not hankering after respect. And here we have an example. I think this is an example given by Srila Prabhupada. Very recently, about 200 years ago or less, one big landlord known as Lal Babu, a Calcutta landlord, became a Vaishnava and lived in Vrindavan. He was also begging from door to door, even at the homes of his political enemies. And the picture you see is the Lal Babu temple in Vrindavan. So the point is, Lal Babu, although he was a wealthy, influential landlord, when he became a Vaishnava and when he wanted to build a temple, he became very humble and he just begged door to door. And so he doesn't care what people think. He was not after respect of others. He simply wanted to serve. So that's another symptom of one on the level of bhava. Then 5, he's always certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. Ashabandha. The strong conviction that one will certainly receive the favor of the Supreme Person of Godhead is called, in Sanskrit, Ashabandha. Ashabandha means continue to think, because I'm trying my best to follow the routine principles of devotional service, I'm sure that I will go back to Godhead, back to home. So although one may feels very fallen, but there is always this hope that Krishna will shower his mercy. Okay, there's a lot of text. Keep it short. 6, he's always very eager to serve the Lord faithfully. And samutkanta is that eagerness to serve is called samutkanta. No? And Prabhu explains, actually this eagerness is the price for achieving success. So if one wants to attain the Lord, one has to be very eager. And that lowlam, that greed to reach, that's the price we have to pay. Example here is given Bilva Mangala Thakur, who had an interesting journey of transformation, but then he was very eager to attain the Lord. 7, he is very much attached to chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So Radharani says here, or associate of Radharani, O Lord Govinda, the girl who is the daughter of King Vrishabhanu is now shedding tears. She is anxiously chanting your holy name, Krishna, 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 Krishna. Shishi Prahlad Nisingre Bhagavan Ki Jai. So obvious, one on the level of bhava, he's always chanting, always absorbed in the holy name. He has great taste in the holy name. And he's also eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord. What shall I do for Krishna, who is pleasing beyond all pleasurable conceptions, and who is naughtier than all restless boys? The idea of Krishna's beautiful activities is attracting my heart, and I do not know what I can do. I want to hear about Krishna. I want to speak about Krishna. Krishna Katha becomes the life and soul of such a devotee. And then finally 9, he is very pleased to live in a place where the Lord's pastimes are performed, like in Mathura, Vrindavan and Dwarka. And in this way he, goes to different places in Vrindavan and he tries to remember all the different pastimes. So these are the 9 symptoms of one in bhava, which are, you can't fake them. These are true characteristics. And thus we have heard a little bit about bhava from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And that will bring us to the final stage of prema. Pure love for Krishna. So this chapter is entitled The Fulfillment of the Heart's Desire, because the soul actually is hankering for this relationship with Krishna. And only if we attain prema, then that hankering is fulfilled. The 2 unfolding leaves of sadhana on the desire creeper of bhakti were described before. Now as hearing and chanting and other devotional processes become very smooth and buttery, suddenly many shiny petals appear at every moment, clinging to the flower of bhava known as anubhavas, the symptoms of ecstasy. Shining brilliantly, the fully blossoming flower of bhava matures and brings forth the fruit of prema, prema phala. That's the prema phala is the ultimate goal of life. The devotee relishes the nectar flowing from the fruit of prema in the form of concentrated bliss, sandarananda, and the sublime nourishing potency of this nectar is its power to attract even Krishna, Shri Krishna Karshini. So these are the last 2 of the 6 symptoms of pure devotional service, which are described in the Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So here we have again the same overview. In basically on the platform of sadhana bhakti, all the Klesha Agni and Shubhada will be manifesting, all the suffering is going and happiness is arriving, or all auspiciousness is arriving. Then on the platform of Bhava, we have in addition that we derive the principle of moksha, and it's very rare. And then on the platform of Prema only, that Sandra Anatma Visheshatma, that pure, that deep inner, the bliss from experiencing from the soul in relationship with Krishna will manifest. That's the ultimate happiness, the greatest achievement we can attain. And then, once we have attained that, then even Krishna becomes attracted to that bhakti that we carry in our hearts. And of course, this is Srimati Radharani. She embodies this attraction. And Srila Prabhupada beautifully describes this. I will read this from the Nectar of Devotion. This is quite a famous paragraph. Srila Rupa Goswami has stated that devotional service attracts even Krishna. Krishna attracts everyone, but devotional service attracts Krishna. The symbol of devotional service is the highest degree is Radharani. Krishna is called Madana Mohan. Here we have a picture of Madan Mohan because, as we know, Madan Mohan for many years lived here. So Madan Mohan, which means that he is so attractive that he can defeat the attraction of thousands of cupids. So in this world we have Cupid, the god of love, and everyone is attracted by that influence of that Cupid. Everyone feels some attraction to some other living entity, and that's because of it's described by the arrows of Cupid. Cupid shoots arrows, and then two living entities become attracted to each other by the influence of Cupid. But then the whole world is captured by the Cupid. But then Krishna is much more attractive than thousands of such Cupids. But Radharani is still more attractive, for she can even attract Krishna. Therefore, devotees call her Madana Mohan Mohini, the attractor of Cupid. To perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of Radharani, and devotees in Vrindavan put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. Radhe Radhe. In other words, devotional service is not an activity of the material world. It is directly under the control of Radharani. Bhakti, as we said also in the beginning, Bhakti is Krishna Swarup Shakti. It's a spiritual energy. It's completely beyond the material world, and it's under the care of Radharani herself. In other words, devotional service is not an activity. Yeah? In Bhagavad Gita, it's confirmed that the Mahatmas, or great souls, are under the protection of Daivi Prakriti, the internal energy, Radharani. So being directly under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts even Krishna himself. Beautiful, no? So in this way, Krishna, who is unconquerable, becomes conquered by his devotees. Sometimes Prabhupada would say that the Mayavadis, they want to become one with God. But we want to become better than God. I say, okay, wait a minute. I thought that Mayavada's philosophy is an offense. To think to be one with God is an offense. Because we are simple servant. But now Prabhupada says we want to become better than God. What is this? But the point is that when we become servants of God, Krishna becomes so attracted by our service and our devotion that Krishna wants to become our servants. And then Krishna puts the sandals, the chappals of Nanda Maharaj on his head and walks, Papa, Papa, here are your shoes, your chappals. No, Krishna takes pleasure in becoming the servant of his devotees. And he rides the chariot of Arjuna. So in this way, the devotee becomes even greater than Krishna. And of course, not that we kind of, okay, I want to be greater, not that we have that motivation. We want to serve Krishna, we want to love Krishna. But that's the greatness of the Vaishnava. That's the result, the glory of the Vaishnava. That actually Krishna becomes attracted to his service and Krishna wants to serve him. Whereas Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, don't try to see God, but try to live in or act in such a way that God wants to see you. What an amazing, idea. Why should God be interested in me? Well, because you have developed so much love for Him. Then He becomes interested in seeing you. So that's the beauty of Prema or Bhakti. And as next, Vishnu Chakra Thakur describes that the Lord then floods His devotee senses with unreviled, auspicious qualities, springing from His own eternal being, His beauty, His fragrance, His pleasant voice. And the vast ocean of transcendental bliss that is appearing at that time cannot be expressed in words. When basically the Lord reveals His own sweetness to the devotee, when the devotee realizes the beauty of Krishna, when the devotee actually gets a chance to have a direct darshan, to see the Lord, that experience cannot be described by words. It's impossible because it's completely beyond any description. But nevertheless, the acharyas, through poetry, through analogy, they try to give a glimpse, an idea. So we have to understand these analogies are actually, it's almost like an insult, because the words never can properly describe the experience. But nevertheless, to get some idea, we have these pictures that are given, and here are some of them. A traveler on a desert path scorched by the hot rays of the summer sun somehow finds shelter under the cool shade of a vast banyan tree, densely tangled with the branches and surrounded with hundreds of vessels of ice-cold Ganges water. So, and the picture should show this, like imagine you are in a desert for days and you have not drunk any water and the scorching heat is burning on your head. What a relief it must be if you reach an oasis, a place where you actually find water. It must be such a relief, such a happiness. And that's that which one experiences when one finally attains perfection. Another example. An elephant caught in a forest fire for a long time is finally bathed by the unlimited streams of waters from a thick bank of rain clouds. I didn't find a picture with rain clouds, but I think this one also nicely shows the pleasure experienced after a burning forest fire. Then you get the refreshing. A person plagued by hundreds of mortal diseases and burning with thirst by chances drinking exquisite sweet nectar. The incredible happiness that each of these three feel gives only a tiny glimpse of the unbound bliss felt by the devotee in Prema. So, we cannot really understand what it means. And then finally, we see beautiful Krishna. Such a beautiful picture, isn't it? And this is something, I sometimes reflect or think about. What experience must it be to stand in front of Krishna, to see Krishna, to feel the love of Krishna? This must be so amazing. And the thing is, this is our goal. That's what we are striving for. We want to attain this, and one day we will achieve that. And is that, to have such a goal, isn't that amazing? And shouldn't that give us unlimited enthusiasm in our daily life? Like if we really understand what is the goal of what I may be able to achieve, then this should give us so much enthusiasm. And especially understanding that we are very close in a way. You can say, okay, I'm very far away because I'm still such a Kali Yuga personality. But on the other hand, if you consider that we have been in the material world for millions of lifetimes, and now we are in touch with pure devotional service, and with, under the shelter of pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, our chances to actually attain, we are actually very close to that. And only if we dedicate our lives seriously, sincerely, then we can achieve this. So, yeah. And that's why it's also nice to hear about these stages, because it gives us some, insight of, or maybe some awareness, raising some awareness what we will find, what we can expect. So now what follows is a very beautiful description. Let me see. Oh, it's not there. Oh, yeah. Basically, it describes how a devotee comes close to Krishna, and then Krishna, one by one, reveals himself. And each time the devotee is overwhelmed and falls unconscious. And then Krishna reveals yet another aspect. And the devotee again falls unconscious. It's a very ecstatic description. Okay, so here we go. The Lord first reveals his beauty, Saundarya, to the eyes of the utterly astonished devotee. So with different spiritual, of course, senses, we will perceive Krishna. And first we will just see the beauty, his form. The sweetness of his beauty makes all the senses and mind become like eyes to see the Lord. The resulting symptoms of ecstatic love, such as tears, shivering, and being stunned, cause the devotee to swan in ecstasy. Swan in ecstasy means he falls unconscious. So first of all, his whole being becomes eyes. He only wants to see. His whole being becomes seeing, and he drinks through the eyes. He drinks the nectar of the beautiful form of the Lord. And he's completely stunned, completely amazed, and then he just falls unconscious because he can't tolerate the ecstasy. Isn't that nice? And tell me, which spiritual tradition gives you such descriptions of coming in touch with God? This is also so unique, in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, and Vedic culture in general, to have such detailed descriptions. This is just amazing. Okay, so the first, we see the beauty of the Lord. To revive him, the Lord next reveals his fragrance, Saurabhya, to the nostrils of his devotees, and all the devotees' senses and mind take on the quality of the nose to smell. How should we can't imagine what it will be like, how Krishna will smell? Must be very beautiful fragrance. As the devotee starts to swan or to fall unconscious a second time, the Lord says, "Oh my devotee, I'm fully under your control. Please don't be disturbed. Just realize me to your full satisfaction." The Lord thus discloses his pleasing voice by speaking these words to the ear of his devotee, and as before, all the senses become like ears to hear. Wow, Krishna's voice. How sweet must be Krishna's voice. His devotee swans a third time, falls unconscious. The Lord mercifully gives him the touch of his lotus feet, hands, or breast, revealing his delicate softness, according to the different rasas of the devotees. So being touched by the Lord's body. Again, the devotee sense all take on a sense of touch to feel his softness. At the start of the fourth swan, the Lord restores him by giving his fifth Madhurya, the taste of the nectar of his lips, Saurasya. But this he reveals only to those who at this time are in the mood of conjugal love and desire this, but not to others. The devotee's senses all take on the sense of taste and faints for a fifth time. This blissful swan is so deep, the Lord can revive him only by bestowing his sixth quality, Adhorya, generosity or mercy. Adhorya refers to the state where all the Lord's qualities, beauty, fragrance, sound, touch, and taste, forcefully manifest at once to his devotees' various senses. So it's interesting that it is step by step. because it's so overwhelming. Krishna cannot just fully manifest from the beginning, but it is kind of, okay, one after the other. Then prema, understanding the mind of the Lord, increases to the utmost, and with the keen hankering of the devotee, prema becomes like a powerful moon in the heart of the devotee. And then one relishes Krishna's beauty fully, with all his senses. So, this is beautiful description. Of course, in the Bhagavatamrita, the wonderful work by Sanatana Goswami, which has two parts. The Purvakant, the first part, which shows Narada Muni travels through the universe finding the greatest devotee. And then the second, Uttarakand, which describes the story of Gop Kumar. We know how he is traveling through the universe. And then finally he attains the Lord in Goloka Vrindavan. And there we also find a description how Gop Kumar and Krishna meet for the first time. And that is also described. That is described that even Krishna also faints. Now, it's not only the devotee faints, but Krishna also faints. They're seeing each other and both faint because they're so in ecstasy and embrace each other. And then beautifully, Krishna basically speaks the word, oh, finally you have arrived. You have arrived. And for so many lifetimes I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting and I've observed. And because the Lord is there in the heart as Paramatma, and I've always watched, maybe in this life he will turn to me. Maybe in this life he will turn to me. And Krishna was always waiting. When will he turn to me? And then finally, when we actually turn and become devotee, Krishna is so happy. He becomes a devotee, he chants, and so Krishna is very anxious to have us back. And then the pleasure that Krishna experiences when we come back is like unlimited. And this is very beautifully described in the Bhagavatamrita. And it would be nice to narrate it, but I have not prepared that part. And our time is also slowly ending. But that's something for you maybe own reading. It's beautiful description of the same. So hearing this description, we understand that this is what we want to achieve. That's the highest goal, prema, and attaining the shelter of Krishna. And from an absolute point or from absolute platform, this is the only thing we need. And once we have attained it, our life is perfect. And as long as we have not attained it, our life is a failure. That's simple as that, Once, without mentioning names, but once one sadhu, both of them are my Shiksha Gurus, but one sadhu met another sadhu and asked, how are you doing? And then the sadhu said, my heart is so dry. There is no love in my heart. That's what can I say, how I'm doing. And then the other sadhu was very touched, and he said, this sadhu is very advanced. He has some love, because he feels that longing and that missing or lacking of prema. If someone asks us how are you doing, I'm doing fine. I'm okay. There's every day prasadam 3 times, and we have nice kirtans. What else do I need? Yes, that's nice. We are happy, engaged in Krishna consciousness. But, unless we attain prema, unless we have love for Krishna, we're missing. And that's what we already mentioned in other sessions. We need to develop that eagerness, that desire to attain Krishna. It's very important. And there's a beautiful song which I like to end. This is from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Song is from Gita Valli, song 3, about love of God, a certain attainment of spiritual benefit. And I will just chant the shloka and then read the purport. Priti Sachidananda Rupavati Nari Daya Dharma Adi Guna alankara sabatari. Love for God, who is eternally full of knowledge and full of bliss, is just like a beautiful woman. Compassion, religiosity, and other such exalted qualities are her ornaments. So this is an analogy, and that's why I have the picture here. A beautiful Indian lady with nice ornaments, earrings. So love of God is like a beautiful woman, and she's decorated with compassion, religiosity, and other qualities. Jnanatara pati sati, yoga ganda paripati, esaba shabhita sati, kari Krishna amanchuri. Spiritual knowledge is her fine silk cloth. Absorption in devotional service is the fragrance of her body. Being adored with these attributes, the chaste woman steals Krishna's heart. So spiritual knowledge is compared to the silken cloth or sari, and absorption in bhakti is her fragrance. And in this way, she steals the heart of Krishna. So that's love, that's prema compared. Rupa vina alankara kina shabe sangsare priti vihina guna Krishna tatushte pari. Without beauty, what would be the use of so much jewelry for a woman in this world? Similarly, one who has no love for the Lord cannot please him by any amount of worldly qualities. So you may have many nice jewelries and many nice saris, but if the woman is not beautiful, it doesn't help so much. a little bit. Because it's the face, it's the beauty, the eyes, the soul, which makes the person beautiful, not just the decorations, right? And similarly, one might be decorated with many good qualities, such as he's a gentleman, he's respectful, he's learned, he's religious, he's pious. There may be unlimited qualities, but Krishna is not impressed by that. Krishna is not interested in that. No amount can please Krishna. The only thing that Krishna wants to see is our love. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur ends with this one. Vanacharita alankara shopanai hayatora Krishna prema vinatate gune nadarakari. If a female monkey is decorated with nice jewelry, it does not increase her beauty. In the same way, no amount of good qualities make a person worthy of respect if he does not have love for Krishna. If you take a female monkey and decorate her, no amount of jewelries and decoration will make that monkey beautiful, because it's a monkey. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, no amount of good qualities will make you beautiful in the eyes of Krishna. The person is not even worthy of respect if that person does not have love for Krishna. If prema is missing, everything is missing. And therefore, this is what we need to aspire for in our life, to attain that love of God. And we are all very fortunate because the Supreme Lord Himself, in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to freely distribute that love to everyone. Without any discrimination, He's just there to give that love through the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Of course, we could speak a bit more about the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's love and how he gave that love to us, but that might be in other seminar. Thank you very much for your attention and for being part of the seminar. In this way, we studied all the stages of devotional service, from Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana, Kriya to Anartha Nivritti, and then to Nishta, Ruchya, Shakti, and finally Bhava and Prema. So I hope this seminar helped you to, go a little deeper in this topic. And I think if you will read the book on your own, then you will remember maybe some of the slides and some of the discussion. And that's always the idea of such seminars, to encourage you to read the book yourself and get more familiar with the content. And as we said, it's a very important book, and it's very helpful to reflect, because it's for inner reflection, gives us an idea where we stand in our devotional service and what is awaiting on the path. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krantaraj Shri Madhurya Kadambini ki jai, Srila Vishnava Chakriti Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Antakroti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.